Cohen, a psychological counselor. The theme for this issue is adult children raised by toxic parents. Let's think about 3 psychological characteristics. Do you know the term adult children? Is that so? It is sometimes abbreviated as ACH when discussing this AC. First, I would like to define it in the video. The definition is vague and many things are said about it.so in this video. To be specific, they are toxic parents, abuse, neglect, and excessive interference. Parent-child relationship reversal that gives excessive pressure. I grew up with parents who were like that, and you want to be with people who are struggling with life difficulties. The external features of AC are as follows. It's been said in many places, for example, if your parents are alcoholics, I was abused, or grew up in a home where parents and children were reversed. So this time I'll be looking at the inner thoughts of AC people. Focus on the psychological characteristics of. I would like to talk about this, since the definition itself is vague. There is naturally little evidence. There is no such thing as a psychological characteristic that in short, it varies from person to person. That I think so, but it's just my opinion, and opinion that I chose 3 out of many based on my prejudices. That I'll just show you how to do it. Thank you to the psychology of adult children. The first feature is an endless feeling of emptiness. I feel like I can't really feel alive. That it may be said that AC is always. I've always lived my life focusing on my parents. So I've always lived for myself. People who have never lived a life. Yes, I always wondered if my parents could remember. That I was always checking their faces and complaining about my parents. Listening to them and things like that are normal. That's not something a child would do. Such a thing is what the child did. Instead of showing any gratitude, he scolded me, and so they tend to punish them. The purpose of your actions is for someone other than yourself, and yet no reward is given. That we don't understand the benefits of our actions. That it will disappear. Then, gradually, and the fact that I am alive and that I was born, I began to question the whole thing. That I think it might be a bit of a problem. That it spreads. But the AC one is me. When you become a parent, here that many people have trouble raising their children because they have not been given proper love. I did the same to my children because I don't feel happy at. Ali wasn't confident that I could make my children happy. That it seems like it's going to be my story, but I don't think I'm an AC, but I do understand that feeling a little bit. For example, the other day several of my colleagues at work have been at that time. You gave birth. Everyone announces their births in the staff group. Eleni along with this. He posted pictures of his baby. Then the other staff members, congratulations to everyone too. The baby is cute. I received a congratulatory response. Buta's someone who can't read the situation. I always say nothing. So, if about 45 people ignored it, if it was a group of people, I would be the only one who kept quiet. That if you do that, you'll be found out. So just respond in some way. That I think that even I can do that much. There is socialization. But the group is 10. It was a group of more than 10 people, so about 1 person. I thought that if I didn't react, no one would notice. That I ignored it. There was no clear malice in it. There was no baby. I thought she was cute, but she gave birth with pain in her stomach. I also thought it was really amazing that the person who sent it had no particular intentions. That I think it's just a report. That I want to share my happiness with everyone, but 2 can't explain it well, but it's a little congratulations on learning the trick. That I couldn't say a word. A life was born. They don't think it's necessarily a happy thing, but it's really just a part of everyday life. That I was just a passing person. That I had forgotten this even happened, and none of the other staff thought anything of it. That I just assumed that. But the other day, a sharp remark to a senior psychologist at work. I received that message and there was no response. You were the only one that wasn't there. That it wasn't by chance. It was on purpose. That I can't believe there are people who realize that. When I froze up, the person I said that you yourself are. I wish I'd never been born. I can't say anything because maybe it was not being self-conscious about my sexuality. I don't think it's someone else's fault. I don't think it's a happy thing. It's just a lie. That I could have congratulated him appropriately. That I didn't dare to do that. That a small, innocent malice sprouted in my mind and directed it at that senior. That I guess they saw through me and started a family. Giving birth to a child is very risky. I think that even if you have a child, that child, it is not necessarily true that the parents themselves will be happy. This is what I mean as a psychologist. I don't think it's a good idea to say, but as a person, I honestly think that I don't understand the feelings of the creators, or so I'll report it to everyone online. That I can't empathize with that at all. If by some chance we were to have a child, I won't tell anyone. If I tell anyone, a mission to make that child happy was born. Of course, I don't have to report it to anyone. Parents have an obligation to make their children happy unconditionally. That I think there is. but one person there are very limited conditions for healthy growth. That IT is only under these conditions that I don't think it's possible to fix it, but what does it mean? Or rather, the AC also said something like this like, I feel like I'm really alive, there are many people who can't feel happy. It's an endless feeling of emptiness even if a child is born. I want to make that child happy that I lose confidence in my ability to do it. There may also be problems like this. Next, the second psychological characteristic of ASIS, distrust of people. AC people have never learned how to trust others. These are the people believing is a vague thing. It's like a place where I feel safe and secure. In most cases, parents are the first people children can trust. In other words, the other person. He's also someone who can teach me how to believe, but with toxic parents, if you can't build healthy relationships, you can't build healthy relationships with other people. That it's only natural that you may find it hard to believe. I think so. It's even if the patient is AC, the mother's consciousness is not so good at first glance. It can be difficult to build relationships. Then, like a good student, it seemed like no problem that I can see it, but sometimes I look around me really, but I want to connect with someone. I don't have even a millimeter of desire to actually. That's not the case. How can I grasp the hand that is being held out to me? I don't think you really know what to do to SO those patients to continue attending. It can be difficult because she is a hard worker. She temporarily became a support organization. Even if you come to visit, one day you may suddenly come, the thread gets lost somewhere. IT may just snap off. That I know no one will help me. I am starting to feel like I won't get one. That maybe I'll reach my limit and despaired. No, finally, the third psychological characteristic of AC is a hopeless feeling of loneliness. Music. If you can't trust people, it can make you lonely. I can connect. Where is the AC? Look at that face. I have lived my life by asking questions, perception and communication skills. These are people who had no choice but to pay more. So on the surface, I don't have anyone to date, but deep down, I feel lonely too. I need to fill my loneliness somewhere to live because I can't. I interact with people, but for some reason, the person I was supposed to be involved with was the wrong one. We have become lonely. At times, various hands are extended to help us. Some of them are welfare facilities or medical facilities like the one I work for. There is public help like this, but some there are also bad moves. For some reason, AC people are public. I doubted the help and took the wrong hand. I often watch the movie Sink to Earth. Did you know that this is a true story? It's a movie based on the theme of who can you trust? AC-like person who has lived without knowing what to do. The tragedy of the story is roughly about a mother neglecting young children at home for long periods of time left unattended. The children eventually died. This work quietly captures the process of putting things away. The catchphrase for this movie is it's true that loneliness is driving my mother into a corner. That's right. At first, this mother also tried her best. She was raising her child. She seems like an ideal mother. But with her husband, I always had loneliness in my heart after breaking up for some reason. I have absolutely no friends. I only interact with men. As a result, it will be ruined sooner. If I had gotten to a proper support organization, maybe it wasn't supposed to happen. I had no idea to rely on such a place. I think that's the kind of place I believe in. I made all the wrong choices. Results, it will end in a hopeless way. If we look at the results alone, this mother is absolutely I am doing something I shouldn't be doing. But I'm not trying to defend what I did to, but she found herself in this situation. I was cornered until I put it away after all. Everyone feels a sense of loneliness. IT will tell you how to combine. I didn't have a role model like that nearby. I think the AC is big. They will love you publicly and unconditionally because his parents were nothing but toxic. It was legal. What is considered good in society? Maybe I can't trust you. But it ended up looking disorganized. However, psychological aspects of AC patients who grew up under barbershops, people who have come across the characteristics of AC are toxic parents. But I will tell you the last thing. What I want to do is the toxic parent continues to exist in your mind as a toxic parent. You may not be saved until because they call their parents toxic. The act is you meet your parents and you should all be on the same level. That's fine because it's nothing but that. Perhaps speaking about others speaks about oneself. I think that's why people call their parents toxic. Those who are in this situation are seen as toxic by others. IT looks like a certain person, but at least nowhere in the world has this happened. Here's a video of a human who may or may not be a horse for me, those who have been watching. Until now he is a good person, but but of course I can't help but hate him that I think they are being pushed to the brink. Maybe I hate you so much that I want to kill you. Maybe you've never done this before. The poison that I had accumulated in my life was gone when my parents passed away. Is this something that will be resolved in no time? On the contrary, if there is no one to hate, something will happen. Isn't there something convenient about that? I think it varies from person to person. One of the inconveniences is from my own problems. There is no reason to look away anymore. I think there are times when parents have parents and they are as long as you are paying attention to something other than yourself, but I can't see the poison in. I'm just a psychologist, so I do that. I don't want to push my parents away. I don't hate them. How can we overcome the despair we have to endure? I want to think together about whether we can read it aloud. However, the answer to how to do this is immediately. Recently, psychology has become it has also spread to the world and increased self-esteem. Let's correct the cognitive distortions, like, let's be positive. It is often said that the despair that comes from being born to toxic parents is like that. It's not something you can just do. Is giving birth a risk? If that's the case, then I was born this way. Living can also be risky. Maybe the term parent gotcha became popular. Those who feel despair about being born, I think there are many of us psychologists. That's how it is. A job where you talk to desperate patients, but I'm not a wizard, so I can't overcome that despair. You can't change it to what you want right away. It's not a pretty or cool job. No, clinical psychology was born from the despair of thinking that it can't be helped. I personally think that this is a new field of study. I don't particularly want to live an active life. No, if you can, then disappeared. I have no choice but to live with this despair. How do we navigate this quagmire? I think we need to think about this with our patients. Would you please swim through that quagmire?